Welcome back. My name is Chris James, the ex-loser, currently trying to be a winner, and today we're going to talk about personal brand, specifically how you can build a personal brand that magnetizes your audience. And with magnetizes, I mean two things: attracts the right people, but also repels the wrong one. And there's a lot of advice out there on personal brand online. Obviously, it's a massive topic. We are being fed the narrative that company brands are dying and it's all about building your personal brand, which I agree with. But a lot of the advice that's being pushed around building a brand, I actually disagree with. Not because of the fact that a lot of the people pushing it haven't even finished puberty yet. We're going to look past that part. But just the whole narrative around building something, all right? So before we start, what we're going to do is take everything that we know about personal brand and we're going to rip it apart and throw it in the fucking bin, all right? We are starting afresh. I'm going to take you through a 5-step framework, which I call the personal brand DNA, which means you don't have to rush out there and really build or create anything, all right? You've already got a personal brand. Whether you know it, whether you like it or not, we all have one. So the reason that I want to show you this is because most people watching, most founders of small businesses have what I call an unplanned, bland brand. So there's no real intention, there's no strategy from a brand or a content or a marketing point of view. And even if there is, a lot of the time it's quite beige. Now that might be because they're all using AI, or you're using AI right now in order to come up with your content. Or it might just be the fact that you're not showing up, I hate the word, but authentically, all right? You're not showing up as genuine you, which is very, very hard to do in the beginning. So the reason that I'm so hot on this topic is because I was just like that a while ago. So I quit my job working at a pretty big independent marketing agency. It was the fastest growing agency in the northwest of England a few years ago, where I was heading up sales, selling to massive brands like FedEx and Subway, Jack Daniels, the NFL, so some really big names. I was selling them content solutions, and I got this itch that I needed to go out and start creating content. So I did, but I was fucking terrified not only to put my face there in the content, but also even to put my name in the beginning. So I called myself Sales Guy Chris. So I want to show you how I managed to go from literally scared of my name and my face being visible online all the way through to turning up and filming videos like this completely freestyle, or hopping on stages and delivering like 45, 60-minute talks without any prep. And I think there's something extremely liberating about curating your own personal brand and starting to put out content that is you, because if you can do it online, it becomes an immediately transferable skill to the real life face-to-face world as well. So what we're going to do is take the magic marker and Van Gogh the shit out of this board. Oh, I missed it. I'm gonna have to try one more time. Terrible. Don't worry, we have another marker. So time is running out, in my opinion, in order to do this personal brand thing. We're already starting to see that the people with the most powerful personal brands are taking all the opportunities. They're the ones that are landing on the same stages again and again. It's always the same speakers getting the big speaking slots. They're all collaborating with each other. They're probably a lot of them running engagement pods on LinkedIn, but we'll skip that past that part as well. But time is running out because it's not going to be as easy in 3 or 4 years' time, simply due to organic reach dropping significantly across all platforms. And the only people that are going to be able to afford to get eyeballs are the people that can afford to run ads, unless you start thinking and planning and executing your personal brand now. So the first thing that I want to push back on, the first bit of advice that I have seen online, is that people are telling you to create a brand. You don't need to create, all right? You already have every single element that I'm about to run through already. You are already the owner of a brand. You already have one. So rather than creating, we want to actually curate. We want to pull bits of our existing life, our worldview, and all the other things I'm going to run through, pull the bits that we're happy to share online. And there's a big argument about what's too much sharing. You know, should you share your kids' faces? Should you talk about religion or politics? Ultimately, that's all up to you, but it can be done through this lens. And we don't have to create anything new. So when people are saying you need to build a brand, like do this, like the easiest approach to building a brand is literally just being your fucking self. It doesn't get any easier than that. So you don't need to go through all this tone of voice documents and mission, vision, and values. That you don't need that to begin with. What you need is just to pick out the bits of things that are the bits and the things that are already happening or have already happened in your life and in your business, and choose what to show to people based on what you think will make you likable and buyable. Unless you want to push a few buttons, and then you can go down the more contrarian and challenging route. So we really don't need to worry about creating anything new. So the way that I like to think about this, people have got this term personal brand. The way I like to think about this and simplify it is just to think about your personal and. All right. What can you put out there that connects your business and your lifestyle, or you as a person? So business and personal. Best way to think about that is, imagine you need to go and get a new accountant. All right. You need to get someone to do your end of year tax return or whatever it might be. You've got two choices. They're in the same location, they're the same offer, same price, yada, yada, yada. But option A is just a straight up accountant. Option B is obsessed with CrossFit, just like you are, or running. Imagine you're a marathon runner and you're seeing content from these two people online and offline potentially. One is just talking straight up accountancy. The other is talking accountancy and running. And you're a runner, so they might be talking about the new trainers, or how their wife competed in a race last week, or how they competed in high rocks, whatever. I don't get into CrossFit, but you get the idea. If they're putting out and sending signals about things other than business that you can relate to and that appeal to you, you're automatically going to be drawn closer to them. And that's what this whole exercise is all about. How do we connect with people, not just through business? Because people are forgetting the word personal in personal brand, especially the fact that the word personal begins with person. So a lot of the stuff we're going to run through comes back to you as a person. All right. 5 strands. And I want you to think about your personal brand, about this whole exercise as like a movie. I went through it with my C2C clients, and this is the same exercise we ask all of them to go through. And it's yielded some fantastic results, not only for them, but also for myself as well. So I've made over 2 million now on LinkedIn. Predominantly that's been organic. Admittedly, I have run a few ads. I went from being scared, not showing up, not even using my face or showing up on video at all, to hopping up and doing these freestyle type approaches and literally just writing posts in 10 seconds. And it's the art of not giving a fuck, which this will help you with, and it helped people be drawn towards me. You know, when we don't do sales calls anymore, but when we did, either I would take them or Katie would take them, and people would hop on saying, I feel like I already know Chris. I feel like I know this is going to work for me. Some people, admittedly only a couple, but some people actually turned up saying, I don't know or care how much it costs. I've got my wallet or I've got my credit card. And that is the power of getting all this stuff right. It's absolutely crazy having people show up and telling you stuff that you'd posted and forgotten about. All right, you just take it for granted after a while, but that is a great position to be in. It creates a strong brand, creates demand. So the first thing I want you to really think about is, and you can ask yourself some questions as we go, but the first thing I want you to think about is your story. Okay, and not just one story overall, but multiple stories that have happened within your life. So I like to have a timeline. I like to keep a personal timeline of all the little different things that have happened. And I just keep a notes section in my app, in my phone, notes on here, which basically I just write down cool shit that happened that month. So if we go back, in January 2026, I rekitted the office with film equipment. I won a mic for making 6 figures off one launch from Kajabi, which actually I've just given to my daughter. Mactown, my local football team, who were like the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, beat the current FA Cup holders, Crystal Palace, at home in the FA Cup. And there were a couple of other things, like my mum actually passed away, so like not all positive stuff, but these are things that I put down just so I have stories, but also memories as well. So I want you to just pull out a pen and paper and start to think about a couple of things. What are your lowest points? And the reason that I'm going to ask you to look at both sides of the coin here is because people, I think, are getting very, very sick of polished. AI is the best at everything. You know, it can write the best grammatically, it can write the best sentences, best bullet points, it can look the best. People are starting to tune out from that. They want raw. That's why I do these videos like one take. You can tell it's me. It's not rehearsed. You know, the only rehearsal I've done is put this down on screen. I'm actually going to bring this a little bit closer on screen, on whiteboard. But you get the idea, right? So we don't just want to show the good. We also want to show the bad. We want to show the struggles. Why? Because people can identify with that. People like to know that you aren't this person just sat up there on a fucking pedestal thinking you're God, and you're actually relatable and a bit more like them. So we can do that and invite people in by telling them stories. Other great stories will include career shifts. So things or seasons that you've been through in your working life where stuff has changed. You know, for example, I used to work in a call center. I would make 220 cold calls every single fucking day. We had like a gap time of 30 seconds that was permitted before calls. Toilet breaks were timed. Anyway, then I went from there and I started, where did I go from there? I started selling digital advertising space on websites in the recruitment space. And that was, again, a level up, but still a shit job. I got told I couldn't have a hand tattoo, I would never progress, and I really wanted this hand tattoo. Anyway, then my mate got me a job at this agency that I mentioned, and I started selling content solutions. Then I went out on my own. Those things are interesting to people, okay? Not every single one to every single person, but they are interesting. So career shifts. Another thing, when people think about stories, a lot of the time they always look back. Oh, I've got to tell a story. But you can also tell a future story as well, okay? You can talk about your dreams or your aspirations or where you want to go in life or the future that you're building. You know, I've got my own idea of this where in 2029, I have a villa in Italy or Portugal maybe, but those are like journeys that I can invite people into. You know, the whole like thesis of C2C is to be able to work when you want and have complete agency over your time. That's another vision I have where experts can be paid what they're actually worth for the value they deliver and do it completely on their own terms. And that's a story that I repeatedly tell in my content and to my clients and invite them into this future world, okay? Future author your own identity and your own existence. And that's what I want to help people do. And again, people can connect with that. We've also got the smaller things. So what I've got written here is daily micro stories, all right? What are the things that happen in your life day to day? I'm trying to think of something that's happened this morning. Oh, I've skipped the gym because I woke up late. People can identify with that. You know, everyone does that from time to time, unless you're absolutely hardcore, which I am trying to be. But don't worry, I remembered that I was going kickboxing tonight instead. So that in itself is perhaps something that's interesting. The fact that I'm trying to do kickboxing, other people will be able to relate to that. So these daily micro stories, it could be that someone said something funny at the dinner table, or it could be that you went out on a date last night and the guy or the girl was a bit weird. You know, all these different things. But essentially what we're trying to do with these stories is show people behind the scenes. All right. What does the behind the scenes of our life and business look like? Not just the polished forefront shop window that everyone tells you to share. So, as we know, every good movie, every good film has a story. All right. We need something to follow along, something to buy into. We need those points of like tension, I suppose. We need stakes where we can see, oh, this, what if this? Oh, I can identify with that bit. God, I don't like that bit. I'm a bit nail biting. But the story doesn't work unless there's a character in it. And this is where you have to put yourself at the forefront of the stuff that you do and of your personal brand. So I like to think about Batman here, because Batman's, you know, crazy, like paradoxical in crazy ways as well. So he is absolutely hardcore. He beats people up without guns, and he's a superhero, obviously, but he has massive insecurity, this need to go and to validate himself or have other people validate him. He's a very, very dark and mysterious character, and that's why we buy into him. All right, so we've got this story or the plot that we've written or are writing currently, and then we've got the character, which some people will say that should be your audience, but when it comes to personal brand, I still think it needs to be about you first. All right, it's very easy to try and draw and like make everything about your audience, but what if your audience want to know about you, which I think is the whole point of personal brand, right? It's better for like corporate and company brands to focus just on the audience, but here we've got a person, and that person is you, my friend. I'm going to go for the pen flip with a smaller pen. Oh my God, this is shocking. One more. Now I made myself look a right idiot. That's 3 pens on the floor. Anyway, we carry on. So, the way that I would suggest that you look at your character is really talking about your core beliefs. All right, what do you like and what do you hate? What can't you stand? What are the things that you really value? So for me, it's and all of our clients actually, it's family time. We ask people to submit wins every single week inside C2C. So all our clients will give us 2 wins. First and foremost, we ask for a personal win. It can never be a business win. It's not allowed. That's win number 2. Win number 1 has to be personal. And I think like when I analysed the stats last week, it was about 60% of the wins that are reported inside our client base are in relation to family. So that is a core belief that you can bring to the forefront of your marketing, and you can start to talk about the family things that you do. Or it might be friends. You know, if you don't have any close family, you don't have any kids, or maybe you don't have a partner or whatever, it could still be friends. And I think that on its own will help people get to know more about you, because if we just talk business and all this stuff sits behind it or is invisible, they'll just choose someone else who's happy to share stuff that is in more alignment with them. Then we've got your talents and your skills, and this is where you kind of have to, alongside this part, you kind of have to blow your own trumpet a little bit. Right? What are you good at? It's allowed to, like, you're allowed to say that you're good at something. I think especially in Britain, like, we have this weird culture where you can't say you're good at something without showing off. But I say fuck that. I'm good at content. I'm good at sales. I'm good at being organized. I'm good at turning things into processes and frameworks, and I'm good at sketching out little diagrams and simplifying things. I'm allowed to say that I'm good at it. I'm not saying I'm the fucking best, but I am saying I'm good at it. And you should do that too. What are you talented at? What do your friends ring you up for and go, hey, could you help me with this thing? And it could be DIY. Like, I've got a mate who's an electrician. He'll do any work for us, and he does it for free, and he's the first person that I ring, and then I will treat him to something. And he's amazing at being an electrician. Like, so he's allowed to talk about that. He doesn't, because he's not trying to grow his own personal brand. But that's the kind of thing that you can do, all right? You're allowed to say that you're good at stuff. Also, on the flip side of that, because we are going to invert a lot of the stuff on this board, what are you really bad at? Like, what flaws do you have? That could be character flaws, could be physical flaws, could be weird shit that you do, like collect Star Wars figures or some bullshit like that, I don't know. But what that's going to do is create this connection between you and anyone else who has an interest in Star Wars. One of my core beliefs, just to go back to this for a second, I don't think children should be allowed on social media. I think that's fucking bullshit. And I genuinely believe it's going to rot their brains. That being said, there's an inverse of that. There's a flaw, because I have had to give my daughter a phone, and I'm not a big fan of doing so. Anyway, I won't go into that whole topic, but you get the idea, all right? Then we've got the different traits that you might have. So character traits. Are you enthusiastic? Are you... It kind of ties in with personality. Are you quite blunt? Are you introverted? Are you extroverted? Are you ambivert? Like me, you're kind of like in the middle. I like people, but I also very much prefer being on my fucking own in this room, locked in for a year on end. But we can see now, right? We've got this story. We have an angle or a plot or somewhere we're going or have been that we're inviting people into. Then we're telling them more about us as a person, the stuff we like, the stuff we hate, our opinions on certain things, like the phone thing that I mentioned. Let's bring this over here a tiny bit. So we've got the story, we've got the main person in the story, but then we also need to be associated with some stuff. So Alex Hormozy, who I'm a big fan of, I'm in his mastermind. Vantage, I don't know if it's a mastermind, it's something. Vantage, it's called. And he did a presentation once where he was talking about curating a brand like a bouquet of flowers. All right. So you imagine you're a florist. The florist doesn't grow the flowers. All they do is just pick the best ones and they assemble them. And what we've got essentially, if we pretend these are all flowers, it's terrible. What we've got here is us picking things that we want our audience to associate with us. It's why, think about influencer marketing for a second. David Beckham is well known. Adidas have a brand new football boot that they want to release. They pull David Beckham in for the advertising campaign. That's them associating themselves with someone who has influence to a load of people, and therefore they will reap, if it's a good pairing or a good association, they will reap the benefits of that. Yeah. So we can do the same. And I've narrowed it down to these things here. So if we think about Batman again, who and what is Batman associated with? Well, he's associated with certain people, good and bad, but we'll forget the bad guys for now. The good people, Commissioner Gordon, fucking Robin, Catwoman. I think she's a mix of good and bad. But then he's got the places. So he's got the Batcave, and he's also got Gotham City as a whole. So if we think the people are like our co-stars, the places are like our sets, and then products and stuff that he uses, like props, essentially. So who are the people in your world? Why and how, like, why aren't you, bringing them to the forefront of your marketing? For me, I've got family. I've got a couple of, like, my best mates. I've got a couple of mates. I've got loads on Facebook. I've got my family. I've got my friends. But I've also got the team. So Katie, Vicky. And I've got, on top of that, our clients as well. And these are people that I want to be associated with, truly. And I also want other people, my ideal market, to know that I'm associated with them as well. So I should talk about them. All right, just like you should. Who are you associated with? Then we've got the places. So where do you hang out? Well, as far as most people can see, I do stay in this office for hours on end, but I also go to the gym, so I can talk about the gym. I go to C2C Live and run our events. I go to masterminds. I flew over to Vegas to be in the room with Hormozy as an example. So I should talk about those things. They're like the sets, and people can place you in certain areas and you become known for it. And once you become known for it, you become memorable. And that is obviously the point of a decent brand. Products, what products to use? I was just drinking out of this before, which was sent to me by Fathom, who are an AI note taker business. I'm not associated with them, to be fair, but I do talk about Fathom quite a bit because I believe it's a lot easier to have notes and transcripts, and they can help you with content creation. Okay. Then we've got hobbies. So I mentioned kickboxing before. What else do? I watch boxing. I like reading books. I especially like going out to eat. I also like drinking, which comes back into like the flaws and the quirks. I like drinking rum. Sometimes I drink too much of it. I vape. Again, these are hobbies, but they're also fucking quirks and flaws, I should say. And then frameworks as well. So I have a massive bank of like IP, I'll call it the C2C IP bank, of all these different frameworks. This is one of them that I can pull out at any one time. So I use those. You know, these are problem solving processes that I use with clients. I should bring them to the forefront of the marketing. Again, all these things are like mini little fucking flowers inside the bouquet. All right, they're all inside, and every single one of these things basically is an association. You're going to associate me with the call center job. You're going to associate me with the fact that I hate fucking kids having social media. You're going to associate me with the team, with the clients. You're going to associate me with, going to Vegas or standing in here. You're going to associate me with the frameworks, the 5-step personal brand DNA framework, or our master offer framework, or our 8-stage DM framework, whatever it is. All right, these are all these different things that I just talk about on repeat, which help grow my personal brand. Now, we've talked about the story, where we're going. We've talked about Batman or the character. We've talked about the things, places, people that he is associated with, but there's one thing missing so far, that a film wouldn't be a good film if it didn't have the bad guys. The bad guys. Now, you probably have someone in your industry that you fucking hate. Hate is a strong word, but there's probably someone that you really dislike. You look at them, maybe you can't put your finger on it. Hopefully it's not just the way that they look, but you'll be able to go, I don't like that person. Now, it probably isn't the person. It's probably just something that they do. But I believe the best brands take a stand on something, and they're not necessarily willing to compromise on it. You see a lot of the back and forth between like big brands on Twitter, like, I don't know, Aldi, and Channel 4 were doing something over the World Cup where they were poking fun at the World Cup and also at themselves, which was great. But you can picture this person. Now, I'm not going to tell you to go and start an Instagram page where you start slagging them off and posting loads of bad content about them. But what you can do is talk about their practices and how they're not the best practices. So I'm sure in your industry, there is a hell of a lot of bad advice being pushed out, okay? There certainly is in our space. Whether it's go and warm up the algorithm, or 360 brew, which is the fucking LinkedIn people on LinkedIn have literally made this thing up to be the new algorithm, when all it was, I believe, was just a report. Anyway, it doesn't exist in the way that people think it does. Like all this bad advice, sending cold DMs, here's the best template that gets me 50% of meetings booked in the first. No, it fucking doesn't. I hate it. So bad advice and bad practices, they're things that you can actively, rather than people, you can take aim at that. And I'm not saying badmouth them, but you can paint a picture of a much better alternative, aka you. All right. There's also just things that you dislike in general. I hate it when people click pens. It does my fucking head in. I also hate it when people play short form video out loud when they're in a public place. So if that's you, there's a special place in hell reserved for you. But pet hates. You can also talk about your method and almost downplay the expensive alternatives. So for us, we can show you how to build, market, and sell a 4 or a 5-figure offer online. All right. There are loads of ways you can go and do that. You could sell using an outsourced sales team in a call center, but that's going to be very fucking expensive, and it's probably not going to help you get the results that you desire if you're even considering working with us. So I can downplay why you shouldn't outsource or why you shouldn't use cold calls. All right. And there'll also be other things you can think about in terms of stuff that you've tried, so an old approach that you've just abandoned for whatever reason. So again, quick recap. We have got the story that's happened so far, where we're going, and then the micro stories happening day to day. We've got us as a character and our core traits, beliefs, skills, flaws, and quirks. We've got the people, the places, the products, the props, the hobbies, the things that we're associated with, and then we've got the things that... Do that again. We've got the things that we are against. All really powerful, and hopefully you could start to see some of your favorite creators or people that you've bought stuff from in the past. You can start to see all of these things. Oh yeah, they do actually tell stories. They tell stories really well. I really resonated with the part where they mention their low point, okay? Or it might be the fact that they talk about this flaw all the time. Or I know the fact that they have an inverted personality and it really draws me to them. I know that they show up in the same spaces. Maybe they always film content outside, or maybe they're in this particular studio, or they always do a podcast. I know who they hang around with. I could list out 3 people. Also, I know the stuff that they hate. Okay, again, hate is a strong word, but they will trash talk some stuff, either directly or indirectly. There's one other thing that you need to make this work, and every good film will have good press, aka good reviews. You need that too. Okay, one of the first things I recommend our clients do is go and gather some social proof as fast as we can, because we're going to use it to create evergreen assets that we seed out into our marketing that help people either book a call or inquire or fill out a form or whatever it is, and then warm them up on the journey to conversion. So all good films have good reviews. For the most part. Let's pretend they do. For you, that could look like client wins. All right. If you have helped a client achieve a significant result or a big transformation, or they've got what they came for, or they're really happy with the experience, or you did it faster, or you're more reliable, or there's better communication, whatever, that's a selling point for other people who might be on the fence considering working with you. If you just put that one asset, whether that's a screenshot of something, whether it's a whole written case study, whether it's you just talking through a case study, or whether it's a client interview, okay? We want to make sure that we are circulating these things. I try and seed as much proof into our emails and my posts as humanly possible. You can also use your own results. So what did I do at the start of this video? Talked about the fact that I made $2 million or pounds or whatever it is now on LinkedIn, all right? That's credible. It's not going to be like, I am not shit if I've made a load of money doing something, all right? So we can inject proof that way. Now, it doesn't necessarily just have to be financial results. I could talk about the fact that I've shared stages with some massive people like Joe Wicks and Daniel Priestley and Davina McCall and Chris Doe as an example. I could talk about the fact that I've got a best-selling book. There's loads of different things, all right? It could be the fact, I've already mentioned it. This is third-party credibility. The fact that I have sold content solutions to FedEx and Subway and whoever else, all right? So those things are positive press, all right? They basically make you look good, either through your own work or through your client's work or through third-party credibility. There's also the non-biz wins as well. We want to make sure that we consider those and we can put those out there. So if I think about one of mine, I've done 2 boxing matches and won them both, all right? I've also run a couple of half marathons, nothing major, but still non-biz wins that other people might find fucking interesting. So I always make sure I surface them. Now, I haven't won any awards. Most people pay to enter awards, which I'm not going to do, certainly not for a while. But if you have any awards, that's also a really good piece, like a good talking point for you to put out there and just keep reminding people of. So we've got the whole picture, all right? We've got a story or a journey that we've been on and we're taking people on. We've got us at the forefront, along holding the client or potential client's hand. We've got all the people, places, products, hobbies and stuff that we're associated with. We've got the stuff that we stand against and the advice that we reject and the bad strategies that we ignore or expensive alternatives. And then we've got a load of positive reviews, all right? That sounds like a fucking blockbuster. So the question should be one of 2 right now. Oh, thanks, Chris. You've given me 5 things to post about, which, yes, I have. Inadvertently, there's probably about 200 things you could post about just off this list. But the most important thing is that we seed this out continually over time. So I want to give you a bit of an example. Before I do, I want to tell you that I am open to roasting your LinkedIn profile completely for free, all right? So this type of stuff belongs on your Instagram, on your LinkedIn profile, on your website, and in your content too. So I'm going to stick a link under this video where you can submit your LinkedIn profile URL to me. Every couple of weeks, I pick 1 or 2 people from my audience and I basically roast their profile in a nice way, but we'll point out some stuff that's wrong and point out some stuff that they can do to improve it. If you want that, you can go underneath. But let me show you now how I would put this into one piece of content. So the thing that I'm trying to crack most, I think, for the rest of this year is going to be YouTube. And I want to do long form pieces like this. So this is a bit of a, what's that film called? Inception. This is a bit of Inception work here because I'm doing a video about this now. I'm going to tell you how I would do a video using this in the future. All right. So let's say I create or you create a 20-minute video about how to win clients on LinkedIn. Okay, so this is your 20 minutes. It's probably split into a few different sections. Now, I am not going to start talking about the fact that I have done a boxing match for the entirety of one of those sections. But what I might do is just mention it. Okay, so I might mention the agency. It's kind of like, it's so, it's really Inception. So what I will do here is potentially mention the fact that I worked at the agency 2 minutes in. And then I might mention here a client result. And then I might mention, oh, the boxing match for some weird reason. I don't know. Then I might talk about, you know, I was watching the World Cup and all these different things. And my daughter's got a phone now. And did you know that 98% of LinkedIn traffic is all consumed through mobile device? I don't know. But you get the idea, right? We start to seed this in wherever we can, just in passing. We don't have to do a whole post about boxing or a whole post about the expensive alternatives. We can just put it in and sprinkle it into our content a bit at a time. And therefore it's still going to let people know about us, but this doesn't just become a set of posts and then you leave it alone. This could be a document that you go and create right now that is going to like stay at the forefront of your emotional marketing. And there's a reason I've circled emotional, is because we haven't really, in this whole, I was going to call it a whiteboard, in this whole flip chart, we haven't really spoken about your offer or the thing that you sell. We have a bit, but for the most part, we're leading with personal stuff, all right? So you think about why people buy. Emotion has to be peaked. They have to feel something, and it also has to make sense on paper. So we want emotional stuff like this, but we also need logical, like facts and figures. You know, am I going to get ROI from giving this person or this business my money? That tends to be how people make decisions. Oh, that's interesting. It's a really good offer. I quite like it. It's speaking to heart and head. It makes sense on paper. Okay, let's book a call, or let's download the thing, or let's do it. So we can't forget the logical piece here, okay? Which we're not going to go into in this video, but there is a specific way that you can go and build offers, so to speak. I call it a master offer, and it's made up of 6 P's, but we'll ignore that. So I'm not going to do another recap because I feel like I've already done one, but I enjoy. Oh, let's try one more pen flip. Yes, knew I'd get it. Yes. You can have me roast your LinkedIn profile for free. Alternatively, I run a lot of workshops, which are a little bit more rehearsed than this, where I take you guys through specific frameworks. So I will literally spend 90 minutes with you showing you one of the frameworks that will help make some significant improvements to one area of your business. So if you want to find out about those, I'll stick the link. A lot of the time they're free as well, but occasionally I charge. Most of the time they're free. I'll stick the link to attend a workshop under this video as well. Thanks for watching. Fucking enjoyed that. Peace.